Jenny Greenteeth.
Okay, let's do Jenny Greenteeth.
Your girlfriend.
Your girlfriend?
You fancy her, you do.
You're the one that likes green teeth, not me.
You like green teeth.
You like green teeth.
You made Jenny paint her teeth green. You like her. You a billionaire. That just shows you like her.
Boo-Foons Mystery Investigators.
Welcome to the Boo-Foons Mystery Investigators. I'm Dan.
And I'm Steve.
And today we are looking at a hag.
What? Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to say hag. I just
Hag,
wanted to say hag. Because she is described as being a hag.
Yeah.
She's described as being an old hag.
Yes. How do you know? I say that I don't know why I'm trying to say anything. I haven't read anything apart from anything about this. All I know is she has green teeth and you fancy her.
Yeah. Well,
some of the it now, are you? Yeah.
So some of the pictures, it's like maybe.
There's
pictures. Others, you know. Well, one of the pictures makes me feel like it's very, you know, Arthurian, you know, King Arthur and that, but it's definitely not linked to King Arthur.
First of all, who are we looking for at so I can actually search for her? This might help to me. Who is it with?
So today we are looking at the story of Jenny Greenteeth. Jenny Greenteeth. So Jenny Greenteeth is described as being a malevolent hag. And she's from English folklore, and it's from the north. So it's mainly around Lancashire and Liverpool. And it's seen up there and does have links to folk stories and tales of scaring children up north. So it seems as if in the north of England, especially around the Liverpool area, they tell children that Jenny Greenteeth casually lives there and will, you know, do horrible things such as killing them and eating them if they get too close to water.
But do you know what? That does sound like one of those public information films we used to watch in the 70s. So, yeah, rather than just having the devil drowning children, they didn't have TV. Oh, no, it wasn't devils. It was death. Did you ever see that public information film for the kids? They're just going swimming in the water, and the guy in the cloak, you know, death is there waiting for the kids to go in so he can drown them.
The one I've always remembered was the railway one where the kids are flying the kite and it gets tangled up in the overhead cables.
Well, I've just got hold of the entire film where they have sports day on the train tracks. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, they wipe an entire school out because they're doing sports day on the live train tracks, and the trains keep going backwards and forward and wiping all the kids out. It's again a public information about don't play on the train tracks.
Well, there was that one that was a drink driving one where you've got the kids playing, I think they're playing football or something in their garden, and then the car crashes through the fence and just takes them out.
Oh no, that's a whole year one class who's sitting down having a story read in the field, and then the car flies over and just squashes them all. That's a new one though. That's new. I think that was that's from Ireland, but yeah, I mean my childhood was just full of nightmare public information films. All like they would come on just after Magic Roundabout finished, or maybe just to give you an extra. Don't go in the water. Don't play an electric. Don't go on the train tracks. Don't go and take your frisbee out of a power generator or transistor, whatever it is. It's like if you can die, they showed you how you would die. Oh, and the other one, 10 minutes of how to die on a farm. And it's like there was, I think there's 5 kids, and every single one but one got killed one by one on this farm.
Well, on that front of the farm one, when I was at secondary school and went to do work experience, I remember us having to sit down and watch a video all about different ways that you can get injured in different workplaces. So like there was a factory, there was a warehouse, and I remember the warehouse, it was a forklift, and the forklift prong went through somebody. Yeah, and you're looking at all these. It ended up getting to the point where you almost became desensitized to it,
Yeah.
and it started to turn into something like you're watching You've Been Framed. But anyway,
cheering. Yeah.
This story.
So
of
this
Jenny
is before those
Greenteeth,
films, yeah. This is before
those films. So Jenny Greenteeth has been used up north, to warn children not to go near dangerous bodies of water. Now, we've sort of done this in a bit of a backwards way, really, because I should have said the story of who Jenny Greenteeth was before saying that, because that's just an interesting fact. I just wanted to get the fact that she's a hag in, and I've got that in. But to be more specific,
we could just start again if you want.
Nah.
It's too much effort.
It's not our style, is it?
Style.
Yeah, people know that we're
style.
This is our style. You know, we've totally got it wrong. We should have started a different way, but we're doing it backwards. And the listeners are hopefully still listening and are laughing right now.
Yeah, and I'm going to shut up now so you can tell us the story, because I want to find out about Jenny Greenteeth.
Okay, so Jenny Greenteeth, she's also known as Wicked Jenny, Ginny Greenteeth, and Grinteeth. Jenny is a figure within English folklore, specifically the North. She is a river hag. So a hag being a wizened old woman who is typically, depending on which folklore story you look at, is a fairy, a witch, or even a goddess. When most people think hag, they think, witch, like Hansel and Gretel, that type of witch. But hag can be used as being an old woman in folklore that has some form of magical powers. And she lives in rivers. Now, she has been linked to a couple of others that we can look into in a bit, Peg Powler and Grindylow. Now, the story of Jenny Greenteeth is that she pulls children or the elderly into water to drown them. And in various areas of the UK, Jenny Greenteeth or even Grinteeth is also used in certain regions to describe pondweed. Those little tiny green dots that you get on top of water, the duckweed. Some people in different little areas will use Grinteeth to describe that. Because they think that the reason why they've made that link is because the pondweed and the duckweed does make that green blanket over the rivers and ponds and lakes, which means you probably, if you're not paying attention, you might think that it's grass, step on it, and suddenly you're in dangerous water. Now, Jenny Greenteeth is described as being green-skinned, has long hair, and sharp teeth. And it's also mentioned that she's sometimes described as lurking in the upper branches of trees at nighttime. However, they do think that may be confusion over the years with Ginny Hewlett, which was a folk name for an owl. So I think that over the years, the Jenny Greenteeth has got slightly confused with Ginny Hewlett, which was an old folk name for an owl. They think it's sort of combined together into one story. So that is Jenny Greenteeth, a hag that it has green skin, long hair, and lives in bodies of water, drowning children. She's seen in rivers, streams, and lakes. She will haunt various areas of land and lay in wait for unwary travellers who may stray too close to water's edge, at which point she grabs hold of them, drags them into the water, and drowns them before eating them. Like many hags, she has a fondness for killing and eating children, but would attack any, regardless of age, that strayed into her path.
You're not used to me being quiet this long, are you? You don't know what to do.
No, I'm not used to you being anxious, but from they've tracked her back for several hundreds of years as being a warning to children to not go too close to water because she could pull them in to eat them, or they could easily fall into the waters and become tangled in the weeds and plants, which would then enable Jenny to find them and eat them.
Ooh, I've just found there's 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 some erotic literature about Jenny Greenteeth on here. It's like, okay, she doesn't look like the way you described it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting how my search is all about her being an evil hag, and the images that I'm getting are her being an evil hag that looks like witches that you would see in children's books and things like that, and even pictures of her surrounded by skulls. None of my searches around Jenny Greenteeth is of her being anything linked to what you've found. So what have you been Googling?
Jenny sat naked in the swamp, waiting for her next victim to make the mistake of wandering into her sacred territory. I can't read any more than that.
Are you sure you searched for Jenny Greenteeth and not Bonnie Blue?
Oh no, this is definitely Jenny she looks really cute. I mean, then there's other ones that don't look so cute. Right. I think it's weird, isn't it? Because, like, say to say that she's a wizened old hag with sharp teeth and green skin and all that. If kids saw that, they would run, right? But if they saw this hot bit of literature, that picture they got there, they'd probably go over for a chat, or at least a drink of milk, and then get pulled down into the water. It's very, yes. So it's, I do like again, it's that pause of me not knowing what to say because I don't really, yeah. So it's not really that scary because kids probably didn't drown because of the story.
Yeah, they probably did.
They probably, there would be some kids like me who would have gone trying to find it. What, there's a green skinned woman in the swamp. I'm going down the river. I'm going down to find her. The others would go, no, she'll just drag you into the water. No, I bet she's not there. Let me go have a look.
Yeah, where it's like I was very similar at school as well, where I was taken into the at night time and was told to do the Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And I remember on me saying the third bloody, my friends burst in and went, no, don't say it. Ah! And so they ended up sort of freaking out a little bit about the fact that I was genuinely going to say it 3 times in the mirror.
It's so funny how people get scared at the slightest thing. But Jenny is. I'm just reading up here because there's going to be lots of pauses while I try to catch up as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah. Would you like me to talk to you about Burnley in 1891?
Could do, but also then I'd like you to tell me about the similar hag called Peg the Prowler, or Powler Preg.
Peg Powler.
Peg Powler. I just thought she was somebody called. I thought it was a prowler who pegged.
No, it's
Peg
Powler.
I've definitely reading the wrong stuff here. I've got the wrong site.
Well, yeah, Peg Powler she's linked to, but The Burnley Express in 1891 ran a story which contained a rhyme which said, hey lads, run for your life. Old Jenny Greenteeth's coming with a knife. She can magic up a fever or lure you into the water where she drowned you, or sometimes slithers onto the land and climbs the branches of trees. If you are out at night and hear the wind whipping through the leaves, be sure to look up. Yeah.
And that was in the newspaper.
It was in the newspaper. The Manchester Guardian in 1874 wrote, when in company of other boys it was thought a daring deed to take a flying leap over the stream and dared Jenny to seize us, a piece of boldness often dearly repaid by wakeful nights or troubled dreams. So that's a couple hundred years ago, people telling newspapers about this. In 1930, T. Thompson told The Guardian, I've just seen Jenny Greenteeth, and who says he'll bite the head off if it says out about them, cheers and that table. The threat comes after a boy called Joe says that the new chairs and tables that had appeared in the woman's house belong to his mum. He promises to be dumb and say nothing more. The woman puts on her bonnet and goes out to plead with Ginny not to eat him. So I guess he was going to be eaten for telling a lie of stealing tables and chairs.
Sorry, who was going to eat him?
Ginny, apparently, for.
But that's not what Ginny does. Did he steal tables and chairs by the water?
I don't know. That's all the bit of the story that I could find.
Yeah, just on holiday or something.
And something that you'll appreciate here.
Oh,
Simon Young, who is a folklore historian, published a book called The South Manchester Supernatural, Ghosts, Fairies and Boggarts.
Boggarts. She's a boggart, yeah.
Which compiled writings from John Higston, who wrote on local folklore. And within that, there was information of Jennydom, which included a map of the lands across the northwest where Jenny crops up.
Jenny Dom.
Yeah, Jenny Dom, where he actually had a map to show where Jenny Greenteeth appears.
We got to find that map. We'll do a Jenny Greenteeth tour. But apparently, I've read in here though. Doesn't say when. I'm trying to find out details, but it says, and I don't know how they say recently because I don't know how old this website is, but a tourist recently photographed a strange spectre in the cemetery, which she believes to be the ghost of Jenny Greenteeth herself.
Oh, wow.
Right. Oh, yeah. Listen to this though. The description is, it's tall, dark, and apparently wearing a hooded cloak. Nothing that Jenny Greenteeth is famous for.
Yeah, that
not by any water, just in
a graveyard. Yeah.
Just a tall, dark figure wearing a cloak.
Hang on, the story that you found a few moments ago, was it Pretty Jenny Greenteeth? That was an adult story. Because I've just discovered
you found more.
If it's the one by Leaf Shallcross, it won an award in 2016 for the best young adult short story.
What?
Oh no, hang on, sorry, no, that's not an. It's not an adult one. Sorry.
Okay.
It was an actual horror story. I was like, wait, what? It's because my brain read adult. An adult story and linked the fact that it was an adult story to what you had said. It's not. It's not. Yeah. It turns out it was just a horror young story adult. That was young adult that won an award. So it has nothing to do with that. Terry Pratchett's written about her though.
Yeah, and apparently Meg, what's her name? Meg Mudblood or something from Legend, the Ridley Scott film, was based on her.
Yes.
And I tell you something, that isn't how I want her to look. She doesn't look like that. It's the green hag from Legend, the Ridley Scott film, which I showed it to the guys at Movie Night a couple of years ago, only one of them sat through the whole thing. The rest of them just got so bored. No attention span. The young youth of today, I tell you. Great, beautiful film. Okay, it was pretty dull, but beautiful film to look at. But yeah, that character Meg is what I imagine Jenny should look like, according to what you were reading. It's probably a very good visualization of it, which is very bad for a podcast. But yeah, everything you said, just a withered old crone with long black hair and long clawed fingers.
Now, you did mention Peg Powler.
So I'm not so excited anymore now. I know it's not a prowler with a peg.
Yeah. Well, Peg Powler is similar to Jenny Greenteeth in the sense of Peg Powler is a hag and a water spirit, but Peg Powler specifically lives in the River Tees.
Okay. You tease Peg.
Again, she drags children into the water if they get too close to the edge. She's regarded as a bogeyman figure. Again, parents use Peg Powler around the area of the River Tees to scare children about going too close to water.
So, like at the beginning, we were saying it was like that public information films we used to have. It's exactly the same. Yeah. This is like the Victorians did create characters to stop kids doing things they didn't want them to do. I guess that's why they had Father Christmas, to get them try to be good all year round. Santa won't come unless you're good. This is, if you're bad, Peg or Jenny will drag you to your doom. And of course, if you didn't like your kids, you wouldn't tell them about
it. Well, the thing that's interesting whereas Jenny Greenteeth seems to create and have duckweed and pondweed around her, Peg Powler has, like foam and that, where you see like on the seas and things, and sometimes foam on the top of a river where, the water's been churned up. Around certain parts of the River Tees, they call that foam either Peg Powler's suds or Peg Powler's cream.
I'm not going to say a word. You're definitely leading me on here, aren't you?
I just read that, and my first thought was, what is Steve going to say about Peg Powler's cream?
Just wipe it off with an old pair of pants.
I think we've now opened up a massive can of worms with this. Well, not a can of worms, but like the boggarts, we've opened up a whole can, because I've now found another creature called Nanny Powler. But Nanny Powler is on the River Skerne near County Durham. And a writer and collector of folklore called Michael Denham claims that Nanny Powler is the daughter of Peg Powler.
So hang on. So the daughter is the Nan?
Yeah, Nanny Powler.
Is that just the name? Or?
That's just the name, Nanny Powler.
So, okay. Yeah.
But Peg Powler is described as a spirit who lures men and boys to their doom in the River Tees by appearing as a beautiful young woman with green hair and pretending to drown so that the victim will enter the water in an attempt to save her. She may even appear on land on foggy nights and lead men astray until they stumble into the river. So Peg Powler is a beautiful, presumably green hag, who lures men and boys specifically into the river. Nanny Powler is very similar, but is the daughter of Peg Powler.
Who's
whereas Jenny, well, one of the boys' men that she's lured in, I'm guessing.
How'd you get a baby with a spirit, and how do you I guess usually it's the spirit that enters you, not the other way around.
Have you not watched Scary Movie?
Haunted House as well.
There's a whole scene in Scary Movie all about that.
Okay. So usually it's the spirit that does the rough stuff.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I just spent on Friday. I watched The Entity with Barbara Hershey from 1982. That's based on a true story. You must do that one day, but it's really brutal and it'll probably get demonetized if we were monetized, because it's about this woman who in the 70s was being constantly assaulted by a spirit, violently assaulted, and it carried on a whole life. Even after the film finishes, it still carries on, but she learned to live with it, which is quite scary that this spirit was violating this woman for her entire life. Yeah, spirits can be a bit of a pain sometimes, can't they?
Yeah.
But also, that's the other thing, sorry, just before I was going to say, is I always say how rough women have it in folklore and not in folklore, in real life. It's always the woman is the victim. But when we talk about supernatural things like this, often it's the men who are the victims, being obviously because they're being led not by their brain and just following something, and that isn't their brain, and then bad things happen to them. So in real life, it almost seems like the legends are being built to justify the treatment in real life of women throughout history. So you make it that the evil female ghost or spirit is going to kill young men and boys, or men and boys, and so that justifies burning women as witches.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, It's just, I wonder if there is a link between why men are often victims, and then at least the victims being women in real life. God, I sound like a feminist.
You do. Talking of equal, here's yet another story similar to Jenny Greenteeth of Nellie Longarms.
Oh, what?
Nellie Longarms.
Okay.
So Nellie Longarms is a hag and water spirit who dwells at the bottom of deep ponds, rivers, and wells. So this time we've got wells. She will reach out with her long, sinewy arms and drag children beneath the water if they get close. She is used by parents around the Durham area to frighten children into appropriate behavior to avoid getting too close to water. Residents have reported sightings and strange sounds at night since the early 18th century. Nellie Longarms must be invited into a property in order for her to drag children nearby into the water.
So you've got to be invited in, so that makes you a vampire, yeah? So you're basically calling, it's basically a hitman or a hitwoman.
Yeah.
You hate your kids, you go, Nelly, get in here to sort out the brat in the back. And then next thing here, oh, Dad, help me. You're dragged off. And luckily we got 13 more at the time. But it's funny, isn't it, how regional these are. It's all pretty much the same idea.
It is.
It's all the same ideas, but just
north.
very regional. Yeah.
It's all up north, but very, very specifically regional. And then they all have links to, are you aware of Beowulf?
Yes.
The English poem. So in Beowulf, there are, you've got Grendel there, which has links to another similar being, not the exact same as Jenny Greenteeth, but Grindylow. So Grindylow is a creature from Yorkshire and Lancashire, potentially linked to Grendel from Beowulf. And Grindylows are supernatural creatures that appear around that area. They're described as humanoids with scaly skin, a green complexion, sharp claws and teeth, and long wiry arms with lengthy fingers at the end. They're said to dwell in ponds and marshes, waiting for, again, children, which they grab with their shockingly strong grip and drag under the surface of the water. Grindylows have been used as shadowy figures to, again, frighten children away from pools, marshes, and ponds where they could drown.
I wonder how much of it is actually just parents whose children have drowned, who didn't want to take responsibility of the fact they didn't tell them to stay away from water, or they didn't teach them to swim, have made up these characters to say, "Oh no, that was the Grindylow did it."
Yeah.
Not that I was just a really bad parent. I was just a really thought careless parent. No, it was the Grindylow. What about the Kelpie? Do you know about the Kelpie or the Kelpie?
I've been to, and I've got a photograph somewhere of me under the Kelpie statues up in Scotland.
Yeah, so a shape-shifting waterhorse.
Yeah, I do like the Kelpie because they are physically made of kelp or seaweed, and typically are seen as horses.
Yeah, it appears as a beautiful tame pony to lure children onto its back. Once they touch it, their hands stick to it. Oh, stick to its hide, obviously because it's seaweed, and it plunges them into the deepest part of the loch to drown them.
Yeah,
seriously, people just want to get rid of their kids, didn't they?
And in Falkirk, you've got two giant Kelpie horse statues side by side, and then not far from it, you've got a miniature version of the main statue.
I was looking up about nursery boogeymen, because that's what these are classified as. So classified as like legends and stories to teach children to not do stuff, to keep away from things. So there's actually orchard guardians as well for rural areas where they had like these boogies that guarded vegetables and fruit to keep kids away from picking them. And there's like a load of those. There's also what they call come home boogies, which basically are creatures and legends that would help enforce curfews for children, making sure they didn't wander into the woods at night and they came back home. So there's a whole selection of those. If you're happy to go, we can start reading through some of those because that's quite interesting.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I've got a list of similar worldwide folk figures that are very, very similar to Jenny Greenteeth.
Oh, hang on a second. Before you carry on with that, you're going to like this one because I like this one. In West Yorkshire, to protect the orchards, you can find churn milk peg.
Another peg.
Another peg, and this one sits there. She sits in a nut thicket, which I'm assuming, with a pipe in her mouth, churning milk. If children gather too early, she carries them off. I don't know, Garrett, but apparently churn milk is unripe nuts, which I don't know. I find once the nuts have ripened, you'll get the best milk out. That's what I say. That's all I can say about that. And I'm sure Peg could help churn the milk from those nuts.
Oh, hilariously, you say that. All I've done.
Oh, you've done a search for that now.
Churn milk.
Yeah.
Right. And in West Yorkshire, specifically on Midgley Moor, is Churn Milk Joan.
Oh.
And Churn Milk Joan is a rock.
Oh, I think I'd say is actually a prostitute and it's got a prices there.
Yeah. No, it's a stone. And apparently this stone is where pagans will visit and use it at different things. So the name of the stone comes from an old legend about a milkmaid named Joan who was carrying milk across the moors, and she got caught in a blizzard and froze to death. When her body was found many days later, the stone was erected to commemorate the spot where she died. So they found this frozen body and just put a rock where she was.
Wow, okay. That's very kind of them.
And apparently they do also call this monolith Churn Milk Peg to link into what you were just saying, the old hag who's the guardian of nut thickets.
Yeah. Sitting there in a nut thicket, smoking a pipe, churning milk.
But they don't know why it has two different names linked to two different stories. All I can find is there are two different names for this rock, but the common one seems to be Churn Milk Joan.
So many of these things get mixed up over years, don't they? We see this all the time where, again, different legends come from the same story or just different versions of it. I like the gooseberry wife of the Isle of Wight. The gooseberry wife was a giant furry caterpillar-like creature that guards gooseberry bushes. If you try to pick the berries, she'll attack you with her prickly hairs. Do you know what? My eyesight is so bad. I can't tell you what I thought originally. What I thought prickly hairs were, but there's something on my mind. I don't know what it is, and it's not right today because it didn't look like prickly hairs after talking about churn milk. And there's also, and this is the one that also gets. If I
do you want? So you just said about gooseberries. So the born. Have you heard of the thing about being born or found under a gooseberry bush?
Yes.
Do you know where that comes from?
I don't know. Somebody was found underneath a gooseberry bush.
So I believe it's 18th or 19th century slang, but it's about 100 years ago. So I don't know if it's Victorian or if it's older than Victorian, but gooseberry bush was slang for pubic hair. which is why that phrase "born under a gooseberry bush," that's where it comes from.
Love it
because of the slang for pubic hair,
which goes really well because that's actually what I thought that it said about the gooseberry wife. Where it says prickly hair, my eyesight's so bad I thought it said she'll attack you with her pubic hairs. That's what I thought it said. So quite handy. It's actually I couldn't believe that. I've just posted some text to you, which I also misread because of my eyesight. Look at the last word quickly on what I've just sent you. And I misread that last word as well.
Funny enough, if you hadn't have said,
you would have read it as well.
Look at the last word and imagine what I've read it as. I would have read it as that word as well.
Okay. Do you want to read this out for me because I won't be able to do it without laughing?
Ordgoggy from East Yorkshire is a giant caterpillar or goblin who haunts orchards. He specifically targets children who try to steal unripe apples, which would cause stomach aches or belly walk.
Belly walk. But I misread that, and I think you did as well, because that R looks very much like an N.
Yeah, I will say, when I say belly walk, I don't mean walk as in walking. It's spelled W-A-R-K.
Yeah.
Wow. And as Steve says, that R looks very much like another letter in that word.
I almost missed. Yeah. Got to be so careful. And I really thought you were going to read it as I heard that pause in your voice as you had to force yourself not to say what you thought it said.
Yep. So would you like to hear some worldwide folk names and figures from around the world that are very similar to Jenny Greenteeth?
Far away.
Okay, so in America, there's the Storm Hag.
Ooh.
The Storm Hag is a crone-like creature or spirit linked with bad weather, particularly storms, gales, and winter. They think it comes from Gaelic mythology of Caelec. I'm not sure how to say that, but close enough. Caelec, who was the divine hag of winter, controlling all of the weather across winter, and creates landscape using a staff to freeze the ground. But these storm hags are seen around coastal areas, craggy mountains, and desolate forests. In American folklore, it's known to live in lakes and also seas and causes shipwrecks. So storm hag, rather than pulling people into ponds, is sitting in lakes and seas waiting for a shipwreck, specifically Lake Erie to be exact, which sailors cause shipwrecks. The storm hag is said to be green-skinned with teeth like a shark, but the teeth are also green, as well as yellow piercing eyes, who rests at the bottom of the lake and sings a song whenever a ship approaches. The song is said to be, "Come into the water, love, dance beneath the waves, where dwell the bones of sailor lads inside my saffron cave."
Oh,
And if sailors hear that, they're about to be pulled in.
oh. Saffron, isn't saffron just a spice, or is it something else then? Because what are they doing with the saffron underwater?
Saffron is a spice, and was also said, this is where our mind is today. Saffron is said to be an aphrodisiac, but it's the reason why it's an aphrodisiac, and I know this because saffron is grown in several areas around Norfolk, and specifically on the coast of Norfolk. So is it the stigma, do they call it? You know, in a flower, the stick bit that's in the middle that bees sort of rub against, and that I think it's a stigma. But in a crocus, it's bright red, and when that is harvested, it does have that earthy floral flavour. So at some point, somebody looked at a crocus and went, you know, that bit sticking out there that is used by a flower to reproduce, I bet
stigma.
that tastes delicious. I'm going to pull that off and eat it.
Oh, that's not what I thought you were going to say. I think you look at that flower, you look at that bit that sticks out that looks like a... well,
it is quite pronounced. It does stick out.
It is quite pronounced.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah. Where is this show going today? Why are we sinking to a lower level than usual?
I don't know. But we've also got the River Mama.
Okay, this is going to be politically correct, I can tell.
The River Mama is a mermaid in Jamaican folklore who inhabits rivers and freshwater pools, acting as a protector of the water and its creatures. She's described as a guardian of treasures and is known to sit on rocks combing her hair, but can be dangerous, drowning people who disturb her habitat.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, don't blame her.
And now I've just read what Jamaican ghost stories are called. We definitely need to do a Jamaican ghost story.
Yes.
Because Jamaican ghost stories are called Jamaican Duppy.
That's cool.
Jamaican Duppy stories.
We got to do it with your brilliant posh English accent. It will be awesome.
Yes.
But I know you won't. I know you will come up with the best Jamaican accent to do this when we do this episode. So this is definitely one to listen out for. Dan knows he's going to be right. Okay, let's go back to the boogies, right? Because there's one in particular I have to.
Okay.
I have to tell you, right? Okay, so these are the come home boogies. These are the ones to enforce children to come home. Obviously, the first one is one you know very well. It's the black dog or black shook.
Yep.
So if you don't come home on time, black shook will get you. So don't stay out till after sunset. On dark country lanes, don't linger. Come home. Okay, right. So fair enough. Yeah, omen of death. Great. Yeah, this is the one. Right. I'll describe it first and then tell you what it's known as. So it's a shadow-like entity that's said to live in the dark corners of a house or woods, waiting to poke or snatch children who refuse to go to bed or who stay out past twilight. This one is called the mum poker.
The mum poker?
The mum poker. Yeah.
But it's after the children, so why is it poking the mum?
It's called the mum poker, so maybe it's a mum poking. Or it could be dad pretending. Sorry, kids. I'm just trying to poke your mum. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed, kids. It's mum poking time. Yeah. The mum poker.
Oh.
And then this one isn't quite so. Raw Head and Bloody Bones is the grimmest of the lot, it says here. This duo said to live under the stairs in dark cupboards to keep children from exploring forbidden or structurally unsafe parts of old houses.
There is an Aboriginal story of the Bunyip. And the Bunyip is today that word is translated as devil or evil spirit, but the origins of the Bunyip is this evil spirit that again lives in swamps, creeks, and because it's Australia, billabongs, and watering holes, dragging people who get too close to the river edge or the pond edge or whatever, and drowning them and eating them. And another one that is linked into Jenny Greenteeth or similar is one that we will definitely be covering in a later episode of Boo-Foons Mystery Investigators, because we've started looking at the yokai. We've looked at the oni so far, but the kappa within the yokai folklore is very similar to Jenny Greenteeth. So when we come to do kappa in the Japanese yokai stories, it's a very similar story.
But I've got a fact for you. Boogeymen or bogeymen.
Yes.
It started off meaning spirit, spectre. But over time, it became the catch-all for anything gross or annoying. And it eventually became what we say bogey, because it's gross. So it's the same thing. Right, and on that note, I think it's probably time to call it a day.
It is definitely time to call it a day on that one.
Or a night.
Or a night on Jenny Greenteeth.
And the other bogies. Nursery bogies.
Yeah, lots of green stuff.
Lots of inappropriate spirits.
Yeah. Talking of bogies, I've just realised that the our logo that you drew
looks very much like a bogey.
Looks like a bogey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually envisioned it being very slimy. That's what I want. I want to see reflection of it. I want to see it almost translucent. I'd love to get a 3D printed one printed up.
Oh,
with
that'd
transparent
be cool.
green. That'd be awesome. That's the plan.
All right.
Yeah. So, but now we can go to bed thinking about the mum poker, the belly wank, prowler peg, and your gooseberry pubes.
You see, every so often we find, and why is it? It's when we go to the north of the UK, we find these things that end up like. Do you remember when we did Red Ettin, the Scottish giant?
The Scottish
that was filled with all that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that this is the thing, though, right? English, mainly English, British, definitely, but I think mainly English. No, actually, no, British, because I know Scotland. Anything goes. We've always liked naughty stuff. It's only been the last few years people have stopped liking naughty stuff and naughty humor and the rude things. It's always been there. It's always been part of society, and we've never ever. It's been behind closed doors. You've been able to have a little snigger about it, but yeah, it may have changed in the last few years, but it's there in history. We got it there in social history and all this stuff. We're looking folklore, and you can see there's so much in there which is just tongue in cheek. And talk about naughty. I found another spirit you'll like here. This is one from South Yorkshire again. He was a goblin with iron teeth who snatched naughty children. His name sounds like a friendly neighbour. His name was Tom Dockin.
Dockin.
Yeah, the Dockin part. Again, some certain people will picture certain things, but this part of Dockin, it's worse. But it comes from Dickin. Old slang for apparently Dickin is the old slang for the devil up in Yorkshire. So if somebody wanted to put the Dick in, Charles Dickens.
Reckon, do you reckon that's where the phrase "what the Dickens" comes from?
What the devil? Yes, is that what Stewie does? What the devil? No, what the deuce, isn't it?
Because that would make sense, wouldn't it? What the Dickens? I'm gonna have to Google this.
And dicking around. Dick and Dom?
What the Dickens originated in the late 16th century, likely from a Thomas Hayward play or Shakespeare's Merry Wives of Windsor, 200 years before Charles Dickens was born. It acts as a euphemism for the devil, used to avoid swearing, similar to saying, "What the heck?"
Wow, we've learnt 2 things today.
We have, and it's all because of you finding that Tom Dickens, did you say?
Yeah. Tom Dockins. Can I advise you though, if you're going to search, do not search for Dickin and Dockin in the same search, or at least make sure Safe Search is back on. It's eye-opening. Let's just say that. Yeah, Dickin and Dockin don't go well together in a Google search.
And on that note, it's time to say goodbye to Jenny Greenteeth and all of these wonderful British folklore stories that we've covered today.
So
and
as the parents,
ones.
I was going to say, so as your parents used to say, off to bed or I'll send the mum poker after you.
And stay away from the water's edge. If not, you will be pulled under and eaten. And
enjoy the gooseberry bush.
Yeah. So, as always, do check out all of our socials where you can find loads of video clips and information. Look at our wonderful website, boo-foons or boofoons.co.uk for extra information. Steve might even put some safe for work photos of docking on there. Who knows? And, bonus information, news, and do look at our Patreon. And I will say, if you've got this far in the episode, you will have to subscribe to Patreon to look at the video of this, because you are just going to see lots of bits that definitely haven't made it into today's episode.
Oh, that's such a shame.
Steve and I just giggling and laughing about various things.
But some of them that might not make it may be on our Saturday show, so tune in for that.
Yes, Boo-Foons off the case. Because we are off the case.
Off our rockers.
Yeah, so see you in a few days' time. Well, we won't see you. I did that on one of the other recordings, didn't I?
You did.
And now I'm going to have to keep this bit in just for that joke. But, yeah.
As long as you put it in the right order.
Either come back on Saturday for Off the Case, where we'll be talking about who knows what this week. Guaranteed
more Dickin.
Yeah.
No more Dickin this week.
Yeah, definitely some sort of randomness. Or next Wednesday for another brilliant episode where we will be looking at another mystery. So, thank you for listening this week, and goodbye.
Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen, good night.
Adieu.
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 Yeah, it is adieu, yeah.
For you and yeah. I think that's enough. I think we can definitely let them go by this point.
Yeah.
Poor sods listening to this.
Boo-Foons Mystery Investigators.